Welcome back to Pennsylvania Crossfire. Tonight we're discussing the deer management problem in Pennsylvania. Jack, would you like to lead off this segment?
Sure. I think what I'd like to do is sum up that we have had a decade of the decimation of the deer herd, the impact on the socioeconomic status of many areas of the state, which has been harmed dramatically. There's no scientific evidence that there is any problem with the hardwood forests in Pennsylvania. As a matter of fact, John can address that. And we need to change the way things are done in Harrisburg for the benefit of the people of Pennsylvania. Can I ask you to try to tie that together, John, with what green certification was for, and really there was no science behind that, and connect the dots?
The reason that the DCNR enrolled in the green certification program was actually to enhance the sale of their forest products, not only within the state but internationally. If you were green certified, you could stamp that green label right on your wood products, your timber and whatever that's going to the Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, and the perception of people walking out there and looking at this timber that has a green stamp on it makes them believe that it must have been grown under great circumstances, and they're more apt to buy it, so that the state ends up making more money. Now, here's
you're kidding. You mean money is behind this?
I won't even touch that. But yes,
but there's really no, there's no difference between a cherry tree that's grown on my food lot, my wood lot, or in a green forest. It is totally irrelevant. The wood is the same.
That's exactly right. This
yeah.
process
and there's no way to separate it when it gets to the law.
No, it started in 1996. And the wood coming from a certified forest, 100-year, like you said, 100-year-old cherry log, is no different than a 100-year-old cherry log that is coming from Farmer Brown's woodlot. The whole thing was based on the perception of the person walking into the retail store to buy lumber. Gives them the perception that it's very good. Now here's the problem, that in order for the company in California to certify DCNR, to be green certified, they had to pick a criteria as to which to judge DCNR's forest management practices. Now, they could have picked clean lumber practices, cleaning up after the forest was, lumbered. They could have picked clean waterways. They could have picked acid rain, something like that. But instead, they chose to pick the reduction of the deer herd, which meant in order for DCNR to maintain to first get green certification and to be maintained in that green certification program every year, they had to start reducing the deer herd every year and continue that indefinitely. Now here's the real clincher. DCNR does not control wildlife management in Pennsylvania. That's controlled by the Game Commission through hunting. So unless the Game Commission was willing to participate in this program, DCNR could not get green certified. In 1998, DCNR enrolled full-time in the program. In 1998, the Game Commission set up a new deer management section, took Gary Ault, their most respected wildlife biologist, from the bear program, moved him over to convince sportsmen that this was a good thing to do as supervisor of the deer management, new deer management section, and off and running we went. DCNR had to prepare a deer management plan, an official deer management plan that would be the guidelines for them throughout the coming years to get green certified. If I might read you a quote, the Pennsylvania Game Commission has begun implementation of a variety of measures designed to reduce the deer herd, which included bringing on Dr. Gary Ault into the program in 1998. Next, they list all the measures in the next paragraph that the Game Commission initiated in order to achieve green certification, which included the 2-week concurrent buck and doe season, DMAP, increased doe permits, changing from the county-based system to the Wildlife Management Unit system, early muzzleloader season, early junior senior season, and including antler restrictions. And the quote next is, all of these initiatives have been successful at providing tools for increasing the antlerless deer harvest. Now, for anyone that thinks that antler restrictions were created in the best interest of sportsmen, let me read the next quote. Increased restrictions for antlered buck made it harder to harvest a buck, so hunters were more apt to harvest an antlerless deer instead. Paraphrasing this, the antler restrictions were concocted as a means to frustrate sportsmen who would not see a legal buck, and they would in turn turn their focus on killing more doe.
May I ask Kim?
You know, Jack and I went to Gary Alt's presentation,
Right.
and you know, he was convincing everybody that the new rules were going to provide a lot more deer for everybody, and the buck would be bigger and healthier, and we'd have a lot more deer.
Now, the Allegheny County Sportsman League, Kim, had suspicions about all this from the very beginning, and I think at a lot of the groups around the state, including the one John and I attended here in the eastern part of the state, there was a lot of suspicions because there was no scientific justification that sportsmen and citizens of Pennsylvania were asking. Could you elaborate on that? And also, after your visit to the Game Commission, some of the pushback that happened?
Well, we went to many of those seminars as well, and I stood up at the podium along with other members of the board of directors of the league and asked Gary Alt directly in front of everybody, where was the science? And he deferred and he didn't answer our questions. Afterwards, after the fourth one, he came up to me and gave me his phone number and his email, which I tried to get in contact with him, but he never returned my calls or emails. And so we found and figured that this entire approach had some other reason behind it. And at that time, we started looking at legislators that were involved in it, like Representative Levdansky. In his 26-year career, which we helped end recently, he is no longer going to be a legislator. And
Yes, good, good.
yes, from a gun owner and a sportsman point of view. One of the first things that comes out of his mouth when talking to sportsmen is that he wants to see the combination of DCNR, Game Commission, and Fish Commission. And he wants legislative control over that. And he has an agenda not only for gun control, but as well as control by other outside entities like Audubon that he mentions frequently. And I don't believe, and our organization does not believe, that that is an approach that benefits anyone, as John's socioeconomic information demonstrates very well throughout Pennsylvania, that this has had a devastating impact on Pittman-Robertson funds, dropping hunters, getting young people involved from behind the desk of computers, you know, the health of our children. And what we've found is that we've been excluded from many different committees, or the committees have been terminated. And in addition, the request for proposal that brought in the WMI study that just rubber stamped what the Game Commission information showed was sent out to supposed stakeholders. Well, the Allegheny County Sportsman's League is the largest sportsman's league in the state. And we were not even added to the list as a stakeholder. Mothers Against Drunk Driving was. What they have to do with deer management, I don't know. So, yes, there has been a political cost to our standing by the sportsman.
Okay, thank you very much. John, has there ever been an audit or a review of this process over the 10 years? Could you address that?
Oh, sure. There was an audit that was just completed in the last year or so by Wildlife Management Institute. There's a real problem with the audit.
John, could we take a break for another look at our sponsors who make this show possible?
Oh, sure.
We'll be right back.